Hello everybody, this is Refresh and I'm here to take a look at the Garruk Planeswalker deck for Magic the Gathering from Core Set 2021. It's a green deck, and according to the back here, it's for Garruk Savage Herald. Curse no longer, Garruk is free to stalk the multiverse for the prey of his choosing. Overrun your opponent with a ceaseless stampede of really big creatures. You get a deck box, a 60 card deck that you can play on tabletop or online, a 50 card booster pack, a strategy insert, and 2 reference cards. Let's go ahead and take a look at what's inside. Here's Garruk Savage Herald. This is a 6 mana 5 loyalty planeswalker, and for +1 you reveal the top card of your library. If it's a creature card, put it into your hand, otherwise put it on the bottom of your library. So not that good because it's not going to hit all the time because there are lands and stuff, but it is kind of a weak card draw spell. And then -2, target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to another target creature, so that's a nice bite effect. For -7, until end of turn, creatures you control gain, you may have this creature assign its combat damage as though it weren't blocked. So this is a bit on the weaker side when it comes to planeswalkers, but maybe the deck really supports its powers here. We have our deck box with some rad Garruk artwork. And we have our deck, our strategy insert, and a single booster pack. For a lower MSRP for this, so the one booster pack makes more sense. The strategy insert here offers a little bit of information about who Garruk is. There's not a lot of biographical information, so it's really the most vague description, and I think it would behoove Wizards to provide more information about these planeswalkers that are their face characters. We also have information about playing the deck, and that is also really vague. It doesn't tell you how to get there, it doesn't tell you what cards to use to do that, and I think a deck tech would be more useful in this space. There's also a bit of information about some of the mechanics that you are going to be doing, which is nice, and that's probably the most useful thing here. I also wish that there were a deck list. On the back we have information about the Planeswalker card type, of which you get 1, and that's important because this is a complex card type and it's not really apparent what you're supposed to be doing when you have one in play. Here's our deck. Garruk's Wartsteed is the exclusive rare for the deck. It is a 5 mana 3/5 Rhino with Vigilance, and it grabs Garruk from your deck or your graveyard. It's a decent body, I guess. Predatory Worm appears to be Garruk's exclusive uncommon. You get a 4 mana 4/4 worm with Vigilance, and it gets +2/+2 as long as you control a Garruk planeswalker. So it's decent on rate, and then if you have Garruk, it becomes even better than decent. Wildwood Patrol appears to be Garruk's common, and it's simply a 3 mana 4/2 Centaur Scout with Trample. So it's an okay body, but the Trample does mean that it will be able to do some damage in its time. It's interesting because Ram Through is from Ikoria, so this is not exclusively Core Set 2021 cards. We have information about popular formats on this tip card, and it's kind of useless to beginning players, but there's that. The back is a far more useful turn guide, and then reminders about how combat damage and attacking and blocking work, as well as your code that you can use to redeem this in MTG Arena. This is great because you only have to pay for this once on paper, and you can also play it online if you don't have anyone to play it on paper with. So this is great value. I wish that all Wizards pre-constructed products came with this. And that is the deck. I'm going to go play it against its peers, and I'll be right back to let you know what I think. So I've had a chance to play with this deck a bit, and I have some thoughts. The biggest mechanic that this deck is most interested in exploiting is having creatures of power 4 or greater. Multiple creatures in this deck care about it. The Drowsing Pteranodon, the Elysian Caryatid, the Nessian Hornbeetle, the Ornery Dilophosaur, as well as the Garruk's Uprising, all care about you having a creature that's power 4 or greater. And there are ways to get power 4 or greater creatures. The Wildwood Patrols, which are the commons of the deck, all power 4 for 3 mana. Garruk's Harbinger, power 4 for 3 mana. The Predatory Worms, which are the deck's exclusive uncommon, they're all power 4 as well. And if you're really in a pinch and you have the mana to spare, the almighty Brushwags actually become power 4 as well. And the payoffs for going power 4, aside from just having big creatures, is that the Drowsing Pteranodons, an undercosted 2 mana 3/3, has Defender, but with power 4 it can get aggressive. The Nessian Horn Beetles grow every turn that you have a power 4 or greater creature. And the Ordinary Duel Officers are a little bit on the weaker side. I guess they get Death Touch and +2/+2 if you have power 4. They're okay because they at least play with that theme. And the Garruk's Uprising is probably the biggest payoff, getting you a card when you have power 4 or greater. And because you have power 4 or greater, the trample that it grants all your creatures can actually be rather deadly. Furthermore, the Pride Malkins are there to give your Drowsing Pteranodons power 4, because you can drop the counter from the Pride Malkin on the Drowsing Pteranodon, and then you're suddenly swinging in with a 4/4 on turn 3, which is pretty good. And the Elysian Caryatids will get you the mana to cast your bigger creatures as well. That said, this is not the most mana-hungry deck, and so the ramp of the Elysian Caryatid is mostly, I think, there for your Primal Might and pumping your Almighty Brushwags, because you only have 2 5-drops in the Garruk's Warsteed, which is a weirdly statted creature for a deck that cares about power 4 or greater, because it only has power 3. And so I don't know if it's thinking that, if the deck's thought is that it has power 3 because you're supposed to put a +1/+1 counter from the Pride Malkin on it, but I don't find it to be a very compelling stat line for a creature in a deck that really wants to have power 4 or greater. Garruk himself doesn't actually care that much about power 4 or greater. He just draws you creatures, but this deck is mostly creatures. I mean, you have 3 Titanic Growths as a combat trick. The 2 Ram Throughs are removal, essentially, and it's great removal in the sense that most of your creatures have a lot of power, and so hitting with the Ram Through is often going to be a 4 damage for 2 mana, and the excess damage is dealt to the creature's controller, and so you can get a little bit of extra damage in, especially if you hit with something that's huge. But the creatures here aren't actually that huge either, and so really what you're trying to do is to get a lot of power on the battlefield early, hopefully get a Garruk's Uprising and get some card advantage, but even if not, your Nessian Horn Beetles and your Drowsing Pteranodons should be getting big, especially with a Wildwood Patrol or Pride Malkin to get the counters going. And then finish your opponent off with well-statted, high-damage creatures before they can get going. And I think this deck does pretty well in that regard, aside from the weird Garruk's Warsteed not being able to activate the power 4 thing. So I think that this is a nice finish for the green Planeswalker decks. And if you like hitting with relatively big but not enormous creatures, this is a decent deck to look into. If you've had a chance to play with this deck a bit, let us know your experience in the comments below. If you found this video helpful, hit the like button. If you'd like to see more of my videos, you can hit subscribe. This is Refresh. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.